Hello, I'm Megan Rhodes, and I'm a planner at the Franklin Regional Council of Governments. The goal of this presentation is to give you a very quick overview into the very often complicated world of housing and some insight into the state of housing in Franklin County. There has been a lot of focus on housing over the last year or so at all levels of government. In the past 2 years alone, plans and studies have been released at the state, Western Mass, Franklin County level, and by many of our local towns here in the county, both large and small. In all of these reports, at all levels of geography, the overwhelming conclusion has been that there simply is just not enough housing for our current residents or future residents. And this is true for both market rate and affordable housing. A truly thriving community is a stool with 3 legs: housing, economic development, and transportation. You can't have a sustainable economy without a focus on all 3 of these. But how does housing impact business and economic development? Abundant housing can help a community thrive, or a lack of housing or expensive housing can exacerbate issues such as population decline and an aging workforce. A healthy housing market means that businesses will want to stay because their workforce has steady housing. Businesses will be attracted to the county because they know that the presence of sufficient housing can attract new employees. There are larger hiring pools and more support for downtown businesses. The Franklin County population has been decreasing and is projected to continue to decline if existing trends continue. You might think that if we're losing population and we don't have enough housing, then the problem might solve itself in the next couple of years. Unfortunately, this is not the case. This is because while we do have a declining population, we're also experiencing an increasing number of households. How can this happen? It is because our aging population is living in smaller households and spreading out, as you can see in this illustration. 10 years ago, there was a family of 4 living in a single-family home. Fast forward to today, and now in that same single-family home now only lives 2 empty nesters. One of their adult children has moved out and formed their new household in an apartment, say, in Greenfield, and their other second child has also moved out but has left the state. So in this scenario, 10 years ago, you had 1 family, 1 household, 1 housing unit. Now, today, you've got 2 households and 2 housing units here in Franklin County, but we've also lost population at the same time. And so while we know we don't have enough housing for our current population, what this scenario shows is that the demand for housing is only going to increase. We're going to need even more housing. And not only is our population shrinking and aging, so is our workforce and school-aged children. Across the board, our schools have seen declining enrollment. For a sustainable Franklin County population, we need to support our aging adults and keep and attract younger adults and families in order to have a robust workforce. This will require the creation of homes that attract younger adults and families or provide the ability for older adults to downsize. So why don't we have enough housing? This graph comes from the UMass Donahue Institute's recent study, and it really highlights how little housing we've been creating. It shows all 50 states in the country and the rate at which they've been issuing building permits. You can see Massachusetts near the end, and if you put Western Massachusetts, we're at the very end in terms of how low and little building permits we've been issuing. Not to say that we want to be like North Carolina and Florida, but what this shows is that we have not been keeping up with demand or even replacing housing that is aging and deteriorating. And when you don't build enough housing, you have very low vacancy rates. A healthy housing market should have a vacancy rate of around 7%. Franklin County has one of the lowest vacancy rates in the state and the lowest in Western Mass at 1.3%, with many of our towns actually hovering around 0%. This means that there is simply no to very little housing available for residents who want to change their homes because their situations have changed. Maybe families have grown, or they've wanted to downsize, or their incomes have changed. This also means that there are no options for new residents to move here. So all of the studies show that we need housing for all household types and at all income levels, both market rate and affordable. But what exactly is affordable? Housing experts say that you should not spend more than 1/3 of your income on housing-related costs. By keeping it at this 30% threshold, you'll have money left over for medical, transportation, food, and to spend in the local economy. And there are two types of affordable housing. One is the government-sponsored, deed-restricted housing, in which only households that make certain type of incomes are eligible to live there. Then there is your naturally affordable housing that's inexpensive because maybe of market forces such as it's located in places that are less desirable, or there's something wrong with it. Maybe they're old and they're moldy or have lead paint. And this last type of affordable housing is a very important point for Franklin County because we have some of the oldest housing stock in the state. So while we might have some inexpensive rents, it's not for really great reasons. And so what is affordable by the numbers in Franklin County? Housing experts use a region's area median income as a benchmark for affordability. Franklin County's area median income, or AMI, is $104,000. A family of four that is considered low income will be making 80% of that area median income, and they would be earning around $95,000 per year. A family that falls into the extremely low income category makes around 50% of that AMI, or half of that area median income, and they earn around $60,000 per year. Now, if I am a member of a family that makes that median income of $104,000 per year, and I don't want to spend more than a third of my income on housing costs, I should be able to afford a home that costs around $220,000. However, that is not what's available in Franklin County. The median home price is nearly $200,000 more than what I can afford. And if you make less than that area median income, which by definition half of us do, then your chances of finding a home that you can afford are very low. And this disparity between what's available and what people can afford has only been growing over the last couple of years. So why aren't we creating enough housing here in the region? There are several reasons for that. One of which is that we do have limited public sewer and water. Developers find it to be less expensive and more dependable to build in these locations with these services, so that is a constraint. This next point is very important for Franklin County, but also for Western Mass. We have the lowest incomes in the state. The graphic here on the bottom shows our annual pay in Franklin County averages at $53,000 per year, while the Massachusetts average pay is $91,000 per year. Because of these very low incomes, we can't charge very high rents or sell homes for very much. But we still have the same construction costs as in Eastern Mass. This means that our market provides little to no return on investment for developers to recoup project expenses, and therefore there's little interest in private developers to create housing here. We also have some of the oldest housing stock in the state. 60% of our housing was built before 1970. This means that we are in a constant state of losing existing housing to age and deterioration. And this last point is true for Franklin County, but also for the state and the entire country. There's often limited support for new housing, or there may even be active opposition to it. Now, I don't want to end this presentation with just a list of challenges and obstacles in a bleak picture. I do want to say that there has been progress across the county with successful housing developments in both our more urban and rural towns. There are very good examples of how things can get done. FRCOG and our regional partners have also been hard at work at advocating at the state level for recognition of our constrained market conditions. And the FRCOG has recently just received grant funding to pilot a shared housing coordinator position to work with our towns on housing development at the local municipal levels, which is really important when our towns have very little staff or resources. So our stage is being set, and we're ready to start the hard work of making sure we have enough housing for a sustainable community and population. But we also do want to make sure we do it in a way that maintains what we love about Franklin County. For more information about housing resources and for plans and studies that have recently been issued, go to our website at frcog.org/housing. Thank you.